1, 2, 3. See, I told you I could count. Hi, how you doing? It's alester74. Today, la 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 la, we're going to talk about rushing around. I've been doing it my whole life. Rush, 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 rush. You have to rush to get to the job on time. And of course, I had to be there 5 minutes before so I could get a cup of coffee. Never on time, always before. And of course, if you want to be spotted by the people upstairs as to you are potential move it on up people, then basically you got to be there early. You just can't be there, right on the dot like most of the world is. It's so funny because I once had somebody tell me, it said, if you think the dead don't come alive, be here at 4:30 when it's time for the shift to end, and they're all at the time clock, and they're running to the time clock, and they run right out past the guard shack, and they run into their cars. You see, the dead, who walked around like zombies all day, are finally alive again. Oh, I hated it. I actually am one of the only people I know that ever got yelled at twice and demerited once from the company I was in, big company, because I was moving too fast in the hallway. Not running, mind you, just moving too fast. I was moving too fast in the hallway. Yeah, right. Then okay. There you go. Rushing. And then I'm rushing everywhere. And it's so funny because I rushed my whole life. I rushed to get to appointments, to get to the airport. And then I met my wife, and she wanted me to rush even more because she always liked to be there a half an hour early so she could talk to her friends or set up her workstation or whatever, because she was an executive too. And that's so funny that we rushed our whole life just to get right here. And it's so funny because I could have not rushed and I'd still be in the exact same place I am today. Nothing would change except where I rushed. Now, rushing, that's when you're driving 10 miles an hour over the speed limit to get there, or more. You're taking somebody else's life in your hands, plus yours. You hate everybody that's on the road in front of you because it just seems like they don't get moving. Jesus, sounds just like you. All right, but that's what I did. What you want to do is not be a Betty. I'll explain later. But don't be a Betty. You got to always be in a position where people think that you're worth something, that you're basically, you're promotable material, as they would put it. Somebody once told me that. Promotable material. So your head is not on a chopping block whenever anything happens. I remember I went to a company. I was the last one there. It happened to me twice. 2 different companies. Last one hired. And when the layoff came, I was the last one let go. And everybody would say, well, what makes you so special? Well, I worked every Saturday. I worked all the overtime. They could call me and I would come right in. And I repaired problems for them. And they used to call me the fixer. And when they had their games, where they would say, okay, well, the quota for this month is this, and anybody that reaches that, their whole team is going to get a full dinner on the company, or games to go see, tickets to go, not English lesson, tickets to go see a sports team or something. I always won. My team always won. So, and I never worked as a bully or as I never acted like a supervisor. They'd say, well, you're paid to be one. I said, yeah, but I don't want to be one of them. Because there's too many people that, think they're supervisors. They're just nothing more than bullies. And they think that they deserve the right to tell you what to do. And I used to tell my supervisors that are above me, I'd say, I don't work for you. I work with you. And the day you think I work for you is the day I won't be working here anymore. And because I was promotable and because they just walk away. And that's what you've got to think about doing. You've got to be somebody who proves your worth in your company or whoever you're working with. Same thing in relationships. If you're the greatest guy to the woman that she's ever seen and exists, and her friends are talking about, boy, you are lucky. She's not going to walk away. And that's all women are looking for. Somebody who can fix things around the house and cook. Remember all the holidays that are special and treat them nice. Wow, what more is there for for anybody? I mean, to be happy is what we all want to be. If we were all happy, this world would be in a much better place, and the aliens wouldn't come down and snatch people, because... No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, well, maybe they do, But anyway, you don't want to always be rushing around. Didn't do me any good, won't do you any good. There's other ways. You can just get up in the morning earlier, or like my second wife used to say, hey, let's start out earlier. Oh, yeah, then we don't have to rush. That'd be cool. So she was, I think she taught me that, and it was wonderful, because we would drive miles and miles and miles to get to meetings. We'd be the first ones there, and then everybody would be like, the last one to come through the door, and she'd be saying, I told you, see? We got to talk to all the executives above us, and they know we're here. And, it's right. And that's not called a brown nose, by the way. That's just called a good employee, I thought. Anyway. And I loved it when the people would do the same thing in my meetings. They would always get there early, and I always promoted those kind of people. And then everybody would want to know why they didn't get promoted. The secondary thing I wanted to talk about today, besides don't be Betty, is don't try to save the world. I've been trying to save the world my whole life, and it's been a disaster, all right? My mom said, don't try to save the world because the world don't want to be saved. And she's right, and I have a classic example of that. When I was 16 years old, I used to work on a farm, and I worked really hard. All the kids were in sports and playing. I was working on the farm. Not my farm, not our farm. We were long gone from then. No, I was just living in a little trailer with my mom and my brothers and sisters, and there were farms all around us, and I went and worked on them and made money. Bought my first car, the only person in school that drove their own car for a while, and then two of my friends actually decided to get a car, and we all had cars, but then that was the only ones, and then I had a friend, and he was pretty good. I thought he was all right. I should have known because he was a smoker, and that's a sign of not having a lot of willpower. But he basically, his parents wouldn't pay for car insurance for a car. So what does stupid Al do? I give him the money, and he buys car insurance on his own at 16. And yeah, you could do it, and he did it, and then one day they called me up and asked where he was, and I said, what are you talking about? And they said he left, and he drove to Florida in a car that I insured. And my mom was upset. She said, hey, you really need to, get him off your insurance pretty fast because you don't even know where he is. And I didn't. And then I went down and told that insurance company I wasn't paying for it anymore. But that was 16 years old, and I was, dumbass, maybe. But anyway. But then it just continued. I mean, I tried to save everybody. I gave people money. Maybe I should have just been a lender. I mean, that would have been cool. But the lenders usually don't ever get their money back. And then I became an executive. And oh my God. I bought my team breakfast every day. That popped at $60, $70 a day. That came out of me. It didn't come from no company. And I paid for the rent on my own office. There were hundreds of offices. So I'll get to that in a second. I paid for school for some of the people, gas for some of the people. No more cars, but all right, I did. I bought a car for a guy because I thought he was great. And he is a good guy. He's a good guy to this today. But that didn't work out so well. And, I did all kinds of things like that. And finally, the company called me into Chicago, and I went to Chicago, flew on a plane. I thought I was going to get fired, but I went there, and they just said, we want to talk to you about this because we were in such a program that literally when you went out and you worked with somebody, if you desired, you gave them all the money that you made, and then the company was going to reimburse that to help you out, and like a damn fool, I didn't split the money. I gave everything to the people. And to this day, those people don't even know who I am. It's not like they even say hello. And the company said, this year alone, you've given over $30,000 away. And that's stupid. I mean, nobody else has done that in the whole country or whole world. And why would you do that? And I had a smart ass answer, back then, because I thought I was great and as an individual. And I said, well, because I like my people. Well, that isn't the answer. You're going to give something to somebody, get something back. And what I mean by that is that have them become a great employee. Maybe those people are the ones you should have took to breakfast. Have them the one that's always beating the records and making you look good, making you feel. Don't take out the people that, that they don't care. The only thing they cared about was the breakfast. And I found out some of them went home afterwards. They didn't go to work. But they were the one bitching the next week about their paycheck. And I was like, I've tried. My second wife said that I was too nice, but she liked it. And I never really understood that. And then I realized up front that my first wife probably thought I wasn't too nice because basically, I had this macho image that I had to put on in the karate schools. And, then it flowed over into my personal life. And after she left, I mean, what was there to be macho about anymore? I kind of was a zombie walking around, and I met this lady after a long time, and I had this girlfriend in between, and I think we had the greatest relationship in the world, with the exception of my wives, and she would have been a wife had she just had other plans, and well, now that wouldn't be the case, but anyway. My wife, my second wife, she said, I understand, how you are and why you are the way you are, but I like the nice Al. And that hit me. That was a big, 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 big change in my world. The nice Al, huh? So Al stopped doing everything to save the world, the exception of me and her actually joined charity, so we were trying to save the world. And after she was gone, I did meet this. I went on a vacation. I drove all over the place, and I met this little family of a girl and a guy and a mom, that little 8-year-old that were sleeping on a sidewalk under a piece of cardboard in a city far, far away. And boy, that hurt me. That took me back. So I went to a gas station, the ATM, and I got them food, and I couldn't handle it. I mean, it's like, why do some people have nothing and other people have everything? It's just, this is shitty world we live in. This is not right. And then I found out in the Philippines, they got 2-year-olds that are orphan children running around. They don't have any food. They have no place to sleep. They have nothing. And it's just, this is disgusting. Disgusting, people. So, when I was a child, 10 years old on a farm, everything had a reason to be there. Gramp used to say everything had a reason to be there. One day it was snowing really bad, and it was probably, I don't know, a Saturday or something. We were home from school. So Gramp went out and he grabbed one of the chickens and he chopped his head off. And the chicken, and here's where the saying comes from, don't be rushing around like you're a chicken with your head cut off. Well, I was screaming and running around in the snow and yelling, Grandpa, I hate you because you just killed my friend. And that was Betty, and you killed Betty. And he looked at me and he said, she wasn't laying any eggs anymore. And I said, what? And he said, no, Betty wasn't doing her job. And then it dawned on me. You end up with your head on a chopping block if you're not doing your job. And that stayed with me forever. And Betty tasted good, too. So I'll leave you with that.